All right, good evening, everyone. Welcome to our work session, Monday, May 11th, 2026. We're going to get started. Before we get into the tally sheet, we have a few presentations. First, we're starting off with a presentation from some retirees from the school district. So folks have done the job and done a well job educating our children, and we are especially appreciative to those folks. So I'm going to pass the mic to our lovely Cynthia Turnquist Jones.
Hello, everyone. Happy Monday. We are here because this is the time of the year when educators retire. And to be able to retire is it's like the candle burning on both sides. You want to do it, you don't want to do it, but it's very important that you do it. So we have 4 administrators who are retiring from Mount Vernon City School District who has given us their time, their talents, and their treasures. When they retire, they're going to have more money because you use a lot of your money to make sure that our children are up to par and on point and a part of the race. So we have 3 administrators that are here today, and we have one who is not here today, but she will come another time to be honored. I too am an educator. I'm going into my 30th year. I know how you feel. Uh, and I just want to say that I appreciate you for being a police officer, a fireman, a teacher, a doctor, a lawyer, an Indian, and a chief. As an educator and psychologist, and there's a list of other things as well. But they are the persons who are there at 5 o'clock in the morning. They are persons that are there at 7 o'clock at night. Because some people feel as though that school starts at 8 and end at 2:20, and that is it. That is never it. They made it out safe. They're getting ready to go to home plate. And we want to make sure that they are honored here and forevermore. The blurbs that they sent in, they will be featured on the CMVNY website newsletter that we have that comes out at the end of each month. So we have Rebecca Jones.
Good evening.
I was about to use my teacher voice. Thank you to the City Council, to Councilwoman Turnquist Jones, to the wonderful Superintendent of Schools, Dr. Strickland, and to everyone who's here tonight. I cannot tell you how honored and humbled I am to be here. It's hard to believe that 37 years ago, I began, there you go, back in the 80s. I see you writing that down. Be careful now. 37 years ago, I began as a high school English teacher at the alternative high school at 47 South 11th Avenue. And at that time, the Board of Education felt that there were a number of students who just were not functioning very well in the traditional high school setting. And so they decided to set up a special program for them, you know, the proverbial dumping ground. But for me and for those who work there, it was truly holy ground for us. It was at 21, fresh out of college, that I soon realized that education was more than just a profession, but it was truly a calling and it was a ministry. And so from that time on, I've held that sentiment. And although many of those students had issues, we saw their potential. We saw who they were and what they could be. And in fact, many of them are still in my life 25 years later. I'm proud to say I have a mentee who is a directing manager at KPMG, who is about to be a partner. She makes more money than I could imagine, and she is so successful, and I love her to pieces, and she's a great product of Mount Vernon. And I'm proud today to continue to be the principal at Lincoln School, where I work alongside a phenomenal group of teachers who go above and beyond each and every day to make a difference in the lives of our students. Again, I am honored, I'm humbled, and I'm so thankful for this recognition. God bless.
Next, we have Danielle Davis.
Davis Marrow.
Hold on, because I know your husband, so that's why I'm trying to make sure that I say it the right way.
Yes,
Marrow.
yes.
Thank you.
Good evening, everyone.
Evening.
Thank you so much for honoring me and my fellow colleagues that are retiring. This is such a bittersweet time for me. This is especially heartwarming for me because I'm a product of Mount Vernon. I grew up in Mount Vernon. My family moved to Mount Vernon in 1972, and I attended Trap Hagen, A.B. Davis, and graduated from Mount Vernon High School. I thank Mount Vernon for shaping me into the woman that I am today. And it gives me such pleasure to give back to a community that has given me so very, very much. I started as a substitute teacher in Mount Vernon in 1989, and I met my fellow colleague Rebecca in 1989. I was at Parker School, and I was there for quite some time and had no intention of being a teacher. I was in the grocery store, and Mary Spells, for those of you from Mount Vernon might know that name, Mary Spells was in the store, and she said, "What are you doing with yourself now?" I said, "Well, I just graduated from college, and, I'm looking for a job." She said, "Well, why don't you come and substitute at my school?" And I did so and loved it so much. And that's why I am still here doing what I do, because I enjoyed being in that classroom and teaching. I thank you again for recognizing me this evening. And again, it has been a pleasure and a joy to serve my community. Thank you, Mount Vernon.
Thank you. Thank you.
And last, we have Carol Quinones Dixon.
Good evening, City Council, City Councilwoman Turnquest Jones. Thank you all very, very much for this honor this evening. I am not a product of Mount Vernon, but I am so happy to end my journey here. It has been such an honor and a privilege to be the principal of Trap Hagen, to shape children's lives every single day and to make connections with our families. I tell people I am proud to work in Mount Vernon. I have learned so much, and I have learned so much about myself. And I have worked alongside some amazing colleagues, and this year, our amazing superintendent, Dr. Strickland. And it was very difficult because I had to say to him, "Dr. Strickland, I wish that I had met you sooner," when I put my papers in. So I am grateful for all of those connections. I have worked alongside a tremendous team of teachers at Trap Hagen who are dedicated to our children and to our families. And I leave with a grateful heart, and I am so thankful for Mount Vernon. Thank you for this opportunity this evening. Thank you very much.
Right. Derek is kicking me out. You got keys and everything. Get that stuff out of here. That's fine. That's fine.
Decision to do honorees bus, Cameron Station Plaza and the other.
All right, thank you. We're gonna move on to the next thing, clerk, our busing. They're here, right? Hmm? Bus camera, people are here, right? Yes, come on up.
Patrol.
Yes.
It is now. Thank you. Thank you, President Thompson.
Hello.
No problem.
You can go ahead and
Well,
yeah.
thank you, President.
State your name, the name of the company, and then
Absolutely. My name's Ryan Manel. I'm Executive Vice President for Bus Patrol. Bus Patrol is the foremost leader in school bus safety across the country. We're fortunate to serve over 500 different communities, equally as many school districts and law enforcement offices across the country, including many here in New York. Our company does two things. First and foremost, we install technology on school buses, including cameras, to allow for violations to be captured if someone were to illegally pass that bus when children are getting off or on the bus. And secondly, if a violation is captured, we take that evidence and we process it through to local law enforcement to ultimately allow for them to have the ability to issue a ticket under New York State statute. And so ultimately what we do is provide a turnkey solution as it relates to making sure that we can utilize technology to hold violators accountable when they pass a school bus. As I mentioned, we're proud to serve many communities across the country, but we have a lot of presence here very locally. We have a contract with Westchester County to serve the school districts outside of the cities that ultimately can participate through the county and see those violations enforced through county public safety. The way the statute works is that if a city has a school district that is entirely contained within that city, they themselves are also eligible to facilitate a program. The way the program works, and this is all outlined under state statute 1174A, is that a jurisdiction, including a city, can enter into an agreement with a vendor like Bus Patrol after effectuating a local law. The local law will ultimately establish what is referred to as a demonstration program, meaning that you ultimately take up the state statute to first and foremost be able to install the cameras on the school buses and then facilitate enforcement via that camera violation detection system. Ultimately, the second aspect of a program would be entering into an intergovernmental agreement with Mount Vernon City Schools. Since Mount Vernon City Schools ultimately facilitates and contracts for the school buses and maintains that asset, the intergovernmental agreement is necessary for us to be able to enter into installing the cameras on those school buses and ultimately allowing for those that enforcement to ultimately exist with the city. What we find is ultimately a very, very robust system that really sees a change in behavior. We typically see a 20% decrease year over year in violations across the board. Unfortunately, in New York State, we see about 50,000 illegal passes of school buses every day, and I'm sure that is no different here in Mount Vernon. The benefit of our program as well is that it is a violator-funded program by how we contract. And what that ultimately means is that we believe that we can keep this agnostic from the taxpayer in regards to costs to the city by basically putting the upfront capital in place ourselves and doing the debt servicing ourselves as a company to make sure the buses can be installed without it coming out of the pocket of the city. And then ultimately, that cost is recovered through the violations that are captured and ultimately paid by those violators. We typically also see additional revenue able to go back to the city on top of paying for this program to be able to be utilized for other city services, public safety initiatives, and education initiatives in the community. But ultimately, overall, we have a very, very positive program that first and foremost keeps our children safer, ultimately helps change behavior, and allows for safer streets overall. I'll stop there in case there's any questions, but certainly happy to elaborate further if helpful. Thank you very much.
thank you so much. Councilpersons, you have questions? Wallace?
I just wanted you to speak a little bit more on the revenue sharing and what's the possibility of this. And not, I just wanted to make it clear to my
Colleagues?
colleagues, thank you, sir, that this for me was not just about the revenue generating, but I've seen every single day when I'm on my way dropping my kids to school, people running around the buses like it's like not there. So this is why I wanted them to come in and be able to implement this kind of strategy in Mount Vernon. Because right now, there is just too many, and I could see it already. I already see that this is gonna work and it's a great deterrent. However, we still got to look at the safety of our kids. We have to stop the people from speeding around these buses. And at the same time, why not make some revenue, right? So I wanted you to speak a little bit about the revenue piece.
Absolutely. Well, look, we, obviously, the city has the ability to enter into an agreement with whatever vendor you would choose. We believe we're the best, ultimately, and provide the most expertise here in New York State. The contracts that we have, across New York State typically are what we refer to as a revenue sharing agreement. And what that means is we ultimately enter into an agreement to where for every ticket paid, Bus Patrol would take a portion of that ticket to basically return and recover our costs that we made and the investment we made. The rest of it would be upside to the city. The ticket is set in statute by the state at $250, which sort of reflects the severity of the violation. Passing a school bus when children are out in harm's way. But ultimately, what we see, unfortunately, is thousands of citations and tickets generated and ultimately able to be sent every year. In New York, in Westchester County, since November of 2024, we've seen approximately 30,000 violations mailed, meaning that it's been an endemic, quite frankly, and a severe issue in Westchester County. We don't believe that would be any different within the confines of the city of Mount Vernon. And we believe it would ultimately amount to a significant amount of violations that would be issued year over year, school year over school year.
Boxer?
Yeah, thank you. I don't know, did you say, but who's responsible for, I mean, if somebody disputes a ticket, who adjudicates this and how does that work?
It's a great council member, great question, council member. So really just to kind of give you the full life cycle of a potential ticket.
Mhm.
First and foremost, if the camera captures a violation off of the school bus, that evidence, that video evidence in particular, is transferred over our LTE network that's also installed on the bus to a back-end system that we refer to as Alert Bus. First and foremost, Bus Patrol actually looks at that evidence and basically pairs it with New York State DMV registered owner information. This is actually a civil violation by nature, meaning that someone would not accrue points on their driving record. You're looking at the license plate, not the registered owner, the likeness of the driver. And therefore, the penalty is a civil penalty in nature. That would be a fine. We pair all the information from the violation evidence with the registered owner of the vehicle information. It then is sent to local law enforcement. In this instance, that would be your police department. They and they alone will make a determination ultimately if a violation should be issued as a ticket. If it's issued as a ticket, it comes back to Bus Patrol. What we would do on your behalf as your vendor is first and foremost print that and then mail it on your behalf to the registered owner of the vehicle. When the registered owner of the vehicle receives that ticket in the mail, they have really two options. The first option is we provide actually a link to the exact same video evidence that was utilized by the police department to issue the ticket in the first place. A lot of accountability and transparency, basically saying, this is the evidence of you passing the school bus, and ultimately you can make the determination yourself very clearly if you're liable or not liable. If you found that you're liable, ultimately you can pay the ticket, and there's multiple ways to pay. You can pay online, by check or mail, of course. We also, in many jurisdictions that we serve, like White Plains, we can have folks pay in person if they so desire to do so. But to answer your question, if you want to claim non-liability, you would contest that. We would work with your local city court, traffic court, to ultimately docket that ticket, and someone would receive a hearing just like they would for any other type of traffic enforcement violation that you would receive in the city. And so ultimately, due process is always provided to anyone who wants to contest their ticket, but we also provide a lot of transparency and accountability, which is why we typically only see a 5% contestation rate, meaning 95% of folks typically pay their ticket. Because the video evidence ultimately speaks for itself, and when you see your vehicle pass the bus, typically folks claim liability.
Okay, so I can imagine that we'd need maybe a dedicated police officer to probably do this full time, because you know?
Yes. Yeah, so it typically takes about 45 seconds to review every violation.
Uh-huh.
So, and you receive a, probably a few dozen every day. What we typically do is, as part of our contract, we ensure that we understand the administrative costs for the city, and we would ultimately make sure that is covered by the contract itself.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Gleason?
So you would make sure that it was covered by the contract, meaning that you would put money into the contract for benefits, salary, and what have you for that dedicated police officer?
Yes, so typically what we do across the country is we basically take the true cost of one full-time employee. Typically,
Okay.
it's one full-time employee that would be necessary to help support the review and ultimately also the court processes. And so we want to understand that cost from the city, true cost. And then ultimately, we would bake that into the contract, making sure that that cost is covered and doesn't really impact any extraneous costs for the city.
Okay. Now, my next question, so I don't know how the county works. Does the county actually own their buses, or the private company? This is twofold.
Sure.
And if it's a private company and we pass a law, they're forced to put these cameras on their vehicles at their cost?
Well, so the way it really works, and the county is sort of similar to where the city's circumstance, which is, number one, you enter into an intergovernmental agreement with the school district, but most school districts, at least in Westchester County, do not own their own school buses, which I think is the key to your question.
Correct.
So you have a third-party operator that ultimately also has to be either party to the agreement or signs off or ultimately agrees to allow for the installation of the cameras. For us, we find that most operators, including I think your operator is First Student, we have a great relationship with that operator, believe in the program and allow for the installation. The other aspect of the program that's ultimately another benefit is we provide non-enforcement interior cameras. So for school districts that need those for prevention of bullying, prevention of fighting on the bus, unfortunately, sometimes we see children left behind on the bus. Unfortunately, sometimes we see accidents where interior footage could be helpful in terms of understanding that dynamic.
I just want to interrupt you just
No
1
problem.
second. Do you provide the cameras to the outside
Yes.
company?
Yes,
Okay,
we do.
so there's no additional cost if we.
There's no
purchase
additional
this
cost.
car, There's no additional cost to the vendor who is the private bus company?
No
Okay.
additional costs.
All right, I just wanted to make sure of that. Thank
Absolutely.
you.
You're welcome.
Yeah, I think also we would have to have a conversation with the school district in particular, because this is something with the school, correct?
Yeah.
And also, our school district currently uses about 2 to 3 different companies with their busing during the day and after school. So I think it's a great asset to protect our children and bring revenue into the city for those who are violating. I think it's awesome. But we definitely have to have more conversation to make sure that everything flows smoothly and no one feels disrespected by us impeding things, if you will. But
Council
Chairperson Jones?
President?
So I appreciate your presentation. Just to let everyone know, bullying takes place, the top 3 places is on the bus,
Correct.
in the auditorium, and during lunchtime. And one of the things that we've been talking about on the council is about pedestrian safety as well. And so right now, we are at a height of addressing it because we have a lot of motorists who are not adhering to regulatory stop signs. They are not adhering to the speed limit, and they are not adhering to the pavement markings. And so, yeah, so let's rock the house on this one.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. President. I will say lastly, enforcement's just part of the puzzle. We also want to make sure that that's always paired with education. And one of the things that we always like to commit to when we enter into a community is that this has to be a community-driven program and one that really reflects the community. And so we want to make sure that we reach folks by educating them, not just enforcing the law, but educating them in terms of what the law says and how not to get a ticket. Right? Because that's ultimately going to be equally as important as enforcement in terms of changing behavior and making sure the community is safer, particularly for our children. So Just wanted to add that as well, but very grateful for your time and appreciate the council this evening.
And
Thank you very
if you could tell us quickly, how long does it usually take to implement this kind of program? We're
Yeah.
4.4 square miles, but how long does it?
Absolutely. Yeah, it's a very quick process. As I mentioned, we're very experienced in New York State under the New York State statute. Ultimately, the contracting, of course, would have to come first. You have about 100 buses that operate across your streets every school day. For us, we install 250 a week. And so typically, if you we'd be able to install those buses pretty quickly. It really depends on how available they are by the school district and the operators. But we believe that if you were to take action this summer, and if, of course, the school board takes action to implement their agreement as well with the city, we could have this program ready for the new school year.
Awesome.
Council President,
Yep,
um,
Wallace.
I did speak to the school board already about this whole thing, so we do have a mock contract, and I'll give that to everybody here, so this way we can at least start the process. So they already had that conversation and, spoke to them, so we know what the cost is and all that stuff. So after that, when you have the contract, you can finish this up.
Thank you.
That seems cool.
Yeah, I've actually presented to the school board, I believe twice. I know they're having regular conversations on the program as well. We certainly are happy to answer any additional questions either the council or the school trustees have, but really appreciate everyone's time and dedication to this program. Thank you very much.
Okay. And it's zero cost to the city and the district.
It would be zero cost to the city and the district.
Okay.
Yeah, that would be a
Can you
commitment.
state that again? Zero cost to the city and the district.
So we would actually put in the contract that this would be a hold harmless contract for the city. You would never accrue a cost, and by law, actually, the school district cannot accrue costs. So they're covered, and we'd make sure that you're covered as well.
Appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Just one
Qu-
quick
oh, go
question.
ahead.
No problem.
Please.
And that'll be, then if you can make it quick.
Absolutely.
So the benefit, the violations would come back to the city. Did the city school district get any portion of that or not at all?
So this, by law, the revenue, the flow of funds goes back to the city. It would be at your discretion in regards to if you would like to enter into an agreement for some of that revenue to go to the school district.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for your
Thank you.
presentation. No other questions, council persons? Thank you. Thank you so much. Clerk, our next presenter?
Mr. Horton.
Mr. Horton Welton.
Good evening, everyone,
Good evening.
to the city and to the constituency. Thank you for this opportunity to speak before this honorable body. I was approached by Councilman Wallace, who thought that Union Arms President's Park was an appropriate park to consider for renovation and to be part of whatever the program he had. And I would like to thank him personally for reaching out to me. Union Arms President's Park has been something that's been very dear to me. And I find it so appropriate and extraordinary as well that first we had the teachers who have given so much of their life to the city of Mount Vernon in their instruction. And then we have opportunity to help provide safety to our students and our residents through the camera and whatever benefits that it brings forth. Now we have the opportunity for Union Arms President's Park to demonstrate to you, this honorable body, and to the entire city, and I dare say the world, of the attributes that Union Arms Park will bring to the city of Mount Vernon. Union Arms President Park is a learning park. It was designed back in 2010. I was Commissioner of Public Works at the time. At that time, I was charged with the responsibility as Public Works Commissioner to find out every attribute every historical fact that was relevant to the city and learn it and then act on it. At that particular time, as I was doing my research, I found out that one park that's situated on Union is the only park that is in America currently that is situated between Union Avenue and Union Lane. That park also, and that's from First Street to Fifth Street, there are 5 streets and 6 presidents' names. That is the only municipal park that has 6 presidents that go north to south, and then 5 streets. And then coming east to west, you have the American Indians' name. You had Seneca, Tecumseh, that traveled east to west. When it culminates at that park, you have 18 blocks to Union Lane, and then you have 6 presidents and 5 streets. When you combine it, it's 1865. That park was designed by James, we've honored him at our Warriors Way. He was a slave from Mount Vernon, and he was able to get his freedom by joining the Union Army. After he gained his freedom, he was the only Black man to be able to be buried in St. Paul's Cemetery. During that time, he worked directly with the founder of Mount Vernon, Stevens. James, he actually designed all the streets in the city of Mount Vernon. What makes that park so unique, when you do the numerical value of 1865, it is the only one other park in America like it, and that's where President Grant was born, in Ohio. And then you have Union and Seminary. So the reason why that park is so very important to the birth of America and his historical value is that during the Battle of Pell, Mount Vernon, at the corner of McClellan, at the dead end McClellan, they held back the British forces, which was right at where Pelham High School is. That's where the British encampment was. In 1776, the Mount Vernon militia held the British forces at Memorial Field, allowing Washington to get from Queens to Manhattan to White Plains and then across the Delaware River. The entire reason why the city of Mount Vernon is named Mount Vernon is because Washington would have never made it from being General Washington into President Washington unless the Mount Vernon militia was able to hold the British forces at Memorial Field during the Battle of Pell, allowing him to cross successfully. There would have never been this nation if it were not for the militia of Mount Vernon. So many people don't know the true history in the city of Mount Vernon, and that's why I made it a learning park. Within that park, I have pictures that I could leave with the council that I'd like to educate you on. It's simple, is that the city of Mount Vernon holds the key, the treasure to America. This 250-year celebration for the 4th of July, Mount Vernon should make sure that they get recognized, because there would be no Washington, there would be no America if it were not for the Mount Vernon militia. That's recorded in history. And when you go to right in front of Memorial Field, they have the stone that they found over there by where that's McClellan. That's where the Delaney sisters lived. Right from that, where you see the big flagpole? That big flagpole that overlooks Mount Vernon is where the Mount Vernon militia held everyone at bay at that time, and that's why we were recognized. For whatever reason the Mount Vernon has not gotten the opportunity to go back into history and to be able to make sure that everyone knows the significance of the city of Mount Vernon. There's such a great opportunity for everyone to not only become part of that learning park history, but for the city of Mount Vernon to be able to get gainful revenues from the multiple people that I've already spoke to. I've already gone to the Grant Society, and so many other individuals who are very interested in participating in bringing that history back to prominence and be able to have the Historical Science Society recognize it as well. And then, of course, that would be a very significant milestone accomplishment for the city of Mount Vernon and its great people thereof. I don't want to overbelay it, but if there was any questions associated with that, I'd be more than happy to share that with you.
Councilpersons, do you have any? Marlis?
I just, once again, the reason why I invited them, because I know that we have to develop some of these parks. But Mount Vernon, over the decade I've been looking at, has 56 markers. A lot of people don't know that. We have the most markers for historical sites and streets and different places than everybody in Westchester and almost everybody in New York
In the
State
state, that's
and
right.
around the country.
That's right.
All of these things, as far as the Stephen House and you know, you look at Memorial Field that was built for because of the veterans, and we don't have we now have an opportunity to bring all of this back to its glory as a place of destination where people can come to visit and see, because this has so much historical value. And what he's explaining too is going back to the whole War of Pell, which they call Pell, the War of
Battle of Pell.
The
Yes.
Battle of Pell, which was held in Pelham, but Pelham at that time used to belong to Mount Vernon before they broke off back in about 1865 or whatever.
That's right. That's
So
correct.
all of these different things that add up with the streets and the president's names that lead to Union, and shows that if you go back to 1865 when the war ended as well, you have the Union on one side and Union on the other. That's why you have Union Street and Union Place. The gentleman, James, who did this was a Mason.
That's
So all of this was
James Polite is his
like
name.
James Polite. It was all technical, and it's all laid out in a certain way of mathematics. And those union leads up as it's two unions that mend into one, as when they signed over as they lost the war.
That's right.
So we have to look at all of these things because we have all this historical history here, and we're letting it waste. This park, I seen him working on back in 2010. And the reason why I brought it up again, because I never had the opportunity to help complete that park. This is an opportunity with some of the contractors that can help us get these things done and basically make it happen. And 4th of July, the 250th year is coming up. So this is an opportunity for us to finish it, put in the grass, surround it with the rose bushes, get it all up, and get it ready for the 250th year celebration of 4th of July. This park is significant to not only Mount Vernon, but to the country.
That's right.
But many people don't realize it. This is Mount Vernon, favored as Mount Vernon in Virginia. So like if we didn't hold the battle here, there would not have been no there.
That's right.
We'd probably be speaking French right now.
That's
Who
a
knows?
fact.
But this is something that I look at as a piece of our historical history and how great Mount Vernon is that people just don't recognize. But if we bring these things back and start to show these and show some of the markers that we have, Mount Vernon will be the destination of New York State for everybody to visit.
You would
So
get
that's
visitors.
why
tourism.
I wanted him to come in, and that's why I wanted to talk to you, all of my colleagues, about how we can go about getting this back to its glory days and making sure that the children behind us and other people recognize what Mount Vernon did for the world.
That's right.
Gleason?
Okay, so we have a heavy agenda tonight.
Yes.
Okay, so I guess the major question I have is, are we asking outside developers to pay to renovate this year? Is that what because I thought Mr. Horton was coming to discuss the other project. I guess I got confused. Because I thought the ask was to have Mr. Horton come in to update yourself and Councilwoman Turquoise Jones on the project in front of the IDA, but I guess.
No,
No, that's not what I'm here for.
No, I know I've already updated myself and I went through all of that. So I'm up I'm caught up
No,
with
I,
the
but
center part.
Councilwoman Turnquest Jones doesn't have all the information, so
Yeah, I can always come back at another time for that.
Yeah, we weren't,
Okay.
we weren't doing that. We were talking about the park because the last conversation we had was, and I'm glad because I saw, Mr. Apicella walk in here tonight. I guess he's doing or something on his project. And the things that wasn't done in the first project or whatever that is owed to our city by Mr. Apicella and his organization. This is this is one of the paybacks that he can work with the city as to pay the city back as well as other things. And I don't think he would have any problem with this and making history in our city to make it happen. So that's a conversation for us to have. And I did speak to Hanson about the Mr. Apicella. Well, we're close friends. We are respectful. We're close, very close friends. So when I say that in an endearing way. He knows that. But yeah, it's an opportunity for us to get some of these historical sites and some other things done.
Thank you, councilpersons. Do you have any other questions, comments? No? Or Turnquest Jones?
I just want to know, was there any collaboration with the Mount Vernon Public Library? Because librarians are normally known for being curators. Just to let you know, I'm a librarian, I'm a school librarian. And so I just want to make sure that there was some collaborations in that aspect because this goes beyond what we currently see because it has to go into the schools as well. So I just wanted to make sure that there's collaboration with the Mount Vernon Public Librarians so that it can come to fruition when it is time to.
I have, thank you for that question, Councilperson. I've been in touch with the schools. I have, approached the library. And of course, I've spoken to many of the historians and I've collaborated directly with, St. Paul's, historians. And it's been corroborated. The city of Mount Vernon is named the city of Mount Vernon because it held the forces of the British forces back, allowing, President Washington to get across the Delaware. There would be no America without Mount Vernon. And this is an extraordinary opportunity for education. And I have pictures where I invited all of the schools from out of the area and they all assembled on that actual sacred ground to commemorate the completion of the process of learning our history together. So I involved the schools, I involved the Board of Education, the libraries, as well as, and I've gotten my information from various historical accounts. I just would like the opportunity to be able to, maybe at another time, provide you with that detail.
Thank you, Gleason.
do we have an idea of how much it would cost?
That was not, I had nothing to do with that of the cost. I was just pleased that someone recognized the significance of Union Park. That's what I'm here, just to be able to offer the historical significance
Okay,
of that park.
thank you.
Mhm. And the only thing I'd like to leave with that, and with James Polite, he was being buried in St. Paul's. It's so extraordinary because it's geometry, it's history, it's design, and it's the Masonic culture that is all tied into it. So when you put together all the specific streets that tie into Union, it branches out through other parts of the city of Mount Vernon, and there's other extraordinary historical facts that only the city of Mount Vernon has. Nowhere else in the country is the city of Mount Vernon. And it'd be just a great opportunity for you just to maybe reach that point of where you got everybody interested by the 4th of July. Everybody should know the importance of the city of Mount Vernon. I'm from Mount Vernon, just like those teachers, they've dedicated their life, and so have I was born in the city of Mount Vernon.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments?
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Hoyle.
Mhm.
All right. Our next presenter, Station Plaza. Oh, we're gonna have Brad come up first.
Good evening, Council President and council members. Just for the record and for the public, my name is Brad Schwartz. I'm an attorney with the law firm of Zarin and Steinmetz. I represent the city council, right? I'm your outside special land use and zoning council. And what's before you this evening is a project known as Station Plaza. Joe Apicella, on behalf of the applicant, is here. This is a project for 100 affordable for sale condominium units. This was before you a couple of months ago. This project has gone through the expedited review committee process. That committee made a recommendation of approval to your council. And so your council is in the middle of that process right now. The conversation that came up last time the applicant was here regarded the provision of open space at street level that was imposed back in 2018 in a resolution by your council on the neighboring property. So some discussion ensued last time about how the applicant would provide that open space as part of this application. I think the applicant is here tonight to provide an update and has a proposal in that regard.
Thank you.
Good evening, Council President and honorable members of the City Council. In that regard, we have followed up, and I believe you've seen a letter from the mayor's office. I believe that was delivered to each one of you, along with a draft resolution that we are anticipating could be at the Wednesday City Council meeting. This project is moving along quickly. The funding for this project, there is a limited, under the AHOP program, there's a limited amount of funding for sale affordable condominiums. And we're being asked by HFA and Housing Community Renewal where our site plan approval is. To that effort, and in keeping with some of the prior discussion, we've had discussions both with some council members and others. We made a recommendation to the mayor's office regarding Union Park and and asked the mayor's office, and I believe through the Parks Department, the mayor's office has asked the Parks Director for some recommendations as to how we might compensate for the additional open space. The recommendation was made, and again, I was of the impression you received that recommendation from the mayor's office to look at another park, not that park, but the park I believe was referred to. Grove Street Park. The rationale, this was not selected by the developer. The rationale was that this was closest, this park and playground was closest to the site plan and our particular project, and that's what they were suggesting. There are some details that were provided, again, by the mayor's office and the Parks Department, and that's inserted into the resolution, the draft resolution, if you want to speak to the details of that resolution.
Just to go a little bit more.
Sure.
Sure. So again, just to present the facts, right? So back in 2018, 3,000 square feet of open space was to be provided. And what the applicant is proposing is a combination. That 3,000 square feet, I should take a step back, was supposed to be on site. So what the developer is asking for is the council to modify that resolution to allow that 3,000 square foot requirement to be met both on site and off site. And so that would be accomplished through a pocket park on site, as well as a pathway to MTA. And then, as Joe mentioned, improvements to Grove Park off site. The mayor's office did provide a letter to the council. I think it came in just Friday afternoon. I did circulate it to all of you. That's why you may have gotten, maybe you didn't catch up on your inbox yet. I don't know. But the mayor's letter outlines the different improvements that would be proposed to be made to Grove Park by the applicant, again, in satisfaction of the off-site component of these required improvements. The resolution that I prepared for the council, if you so choose to place it on your agenda on Wednesday, would recognize all of this work to be done. And if for whatever reason, for any reason, the Grove Street Park improvements did not go forward, the applicant would be required to come back to your council to have a discussion about an alternative solution. Similarly, if for whatever reason, the improvements that are outlined in the mayor's letter change materially, the applicant would be required to come back to the council for further discussion.
Right, I know within the letter, that was sent in, the improvements to Grove Park, are just about $30,000 to $40,000, for
Correct.
the ask, that was in the letter. So if the council didn't read, just so you
I
know.
just want to make one other point. We are indifferent to which park was selected. You know,
That's okay. You know what?
yeah, I mean, we didn't want to get in between. So
read-
I'm here, you know, and I'm not being very specific because it wasn't my choice.
Right.
So I'll leave this in your able hands as to how to do this, but I'm indifferent. We're happy to work with the city council, happy to work with the mayor's office, happy to work with the recreation department to do what you deem to be in the best interest of the project and the best interest of the city.
Gleason?
I mean, I don't really have much more to say except that the part that they did, that is in this letter is actually very, what's the word I'm looking for?
It's detailed.
Beaten up. And it's not actually up to safety because they still have wood chips there and stuff like that. Some of the upgrades to the playground safety service include the removal of existing wood chips, installation of a modern safety surface, replacement of damaged swings, estimated approximately $3,434, repairs and revitalization of the basketball court area, which is approximately $10,000. And like I said, the safety surface is approximately $20,000. So I just wanted to put that on the record, and that's it. I guess.
And our intention is whatever cost it is, we're getting ballpark at this time. No pun intended, ballpark figures because we don't have all of the details. That's why the resolution is drafted in the way it is, so that if there's something that's missing, we would provide it. And that's completely at the council's discretion. So there would be no TCO, if you will, of our project without that work being completed. I'm more than comfortable
Thank you.
to say that.
Councilpersons, Wallace?
If I may,
Mhm.
I don't see a reason why both parks can't be done. I know Street Park very well. It's in an I zone. Not many kids are in that park at all because it goes up against building supply company with all kind of stuff around it. So there's not many people over there at all. I don't know why we would choose that park, but it's okay. We can do both parks because the cost of what was supposed to be done way supersedes all of that anyway. So I'm sure there's a way that we can do both parks, because if you have an estimate of that park and the other park is about the same, matter of fact, even less to get done, I'm sure we could work that out.
Other councilpersons? Gleason?
So, two parks could, but that has a historical nature to it. And I would think that there's grant funding available to be able to do the work that needs to be done at that particular park. Whereas and I mean, I understand what you're saying. I've been down to Grove Street because Trusco's is over there and stuff like that. And there is a lot of industrial traffic over there, but there is no open space to play there except for that park that's owned by the city. And the city's not going to have money to renovate that park, right? But with the Union one, there's a historical society to get, and even, what was the national parks. National Parks also has grant funding for that, earmarked specifically for that, because they've done stuff at St. Paul. So why wouldn't we go that route? I'm just wondering what your thought process was.
Okay. The reason why I went, first of all, none of this would even be possible if I didn't open that conversation. And with the conversation, I know from the contract in which we signed, the actual amount it would cost as an estimator for what had to be done back then. This is why I could understand if the mayor wants to move away from what I said and do something totally different, that's okay. But there is more than enough to do both parks. If they want to do that one, that's fine. But this one, that's a historical landmark and big significance to our community, needs to be elevated. Because right now, many people don't know the significance of this park and what's going on with its historical history. And what I'm saying is, rather than sit back and try to look for historical money over here and over here and over there and over there, we could get this thing done and then landmark it so that we can put it into the historical preservation and all of this stuff, so we can have another check on our column. But the importance of that park, okay, and I'm not saying it's 10 times more important than where our kids need to play or put something there, but I frequently pass that place and there's never anyone in that park at all. So that's not a big issue. That's not something, and you're building a whole project of 315 units down 2 blocks away that's coming with a park and all these other things that I've seen on that plan with that McQuestion Parkway project. So there'll be a park right there, but you're putting a park where there's really no homes or children at. So it's something that we have to look at and we have to make a choice. And then what I'm saying is both of them can be done. It's not a outrageous cost to get them both done.
Council President,
Please.
can I just throw something out at you? Did you think that maybe people are not in that park because of the condition of that park? And
No.
that they don't feel like they should be going in there because of the wood chips and the safety issues with it?
No.
Okay.
No, because when I do see kids in the park, they're playing basketball in there. I see it at times, but it's in a I-zone area surrounded by warehouses. And usually the kids that I see in the park playing leave early because the other ones that hang out at night in that area doing whatever is an issue. So it's up to you to take a walk over it. Well, you know what it is, but others should take a walk over there and look at the sites and, make your own judgment.
Yeah, I've seen that particular park, and actually, people do go in that park, daily. They've had events in that park, but once the park is spruced up, I do believe that, many more people would utilize the park. But it's not a beautiful park, if you would say. It definitely needs a lot of, it definitely needs some rehabilitation there. And I think that, us revitalizing that park would, be beneficial to the area. Because there's a lot of, blighted things in that area, so I think that would freshen up. But, to your point, every park needs a little something in Mount Vernon, so, but
Well,
we'll say that. Tunquist Jones?
Hey, how you doing?
How are you?
So, I understand both sides, and I understand the importance of having a historical park being updated, and I also understand what happens with a children's park when it is not attractive, right? I've been there for events, and during the summer, there is a list that goes out of the different parks that children can go to where summer youth send counselors to the park with activities to do, right? I don't care what kind of activities can be done at Grove Park. I wouldn't bring my children to that park, right? Because it's not attractive. And it doesn't give a child a chance to have an imagination. So that park needs to be revitalized as well. And maybe it's not just swings, right? When you get a chance, drive by some parks and just look and see whether or not a park help a child think to a different level. have an imagination. And that park in particular doesn't build imagination for a child, which is the same thing that will happen at the Union Park, where the history can also take place for a child to write. So just give that some thought.
Thank you.
Thank you. Boxer?
Yeah, I went to that park quite often as a kid. I lived on High Street, so it was quite a, walk from North High to go to South High to go to Grove Street. But it's the only park anywhere around there that had basketball courts. So if you play basketball, that was the park, but Andre's right. It's super sketchy because it's in an industrial zone. You got body shops, you got industrial buildings. So I'm not sure if it's necessarily the park that's the issue, or the I guess the maintenance of the park, but just the area, That's why there's no kids out there, because there's body shops, surrounded by body shops and industrial zones. So unless you want to play basketball and you really went out of your way, that's why you went to that park. So yeah, that's my comment on that.
I believe
Go ahead, Wallace.
we got plenty of opportunity to speak about what we could do with parks. And being that that's in an I-zone district, which is nothing but warehouses around it, like he was saying, during the evening hours, it becomes desolate and more dangerous. That is why you don't see people over there at those hours. You might be going over there to a party or whatever you said, but I'm there quite often. So I believe I see it a lot more than all the council members on this, because I shop right there at Trusco's Building Supply, where we get our construction supplies. And I know the warehouses that store everything, and I even get my car serviced sometimes at the body shop that's right down the block. So I know the area very, very well. The whole area that's the industrial area is not a place I would take my children. Actually, if it was up to me, I would move the park from there closer, or look for another lot that we own somewhere else and design it and build it, because we have plenty of property to do so. And if we just relocate it and get another business to take that up and move it up the street or down more where children are, or more closer to residential neighborhood where kids can get closer without a long walk to the park to play basketball, might be beneficial. So it's something that can be looked at. But like I said, if that's a park that they want to renovate, I know that park was renovated maybe 10 years ago or something. And now they want to renovate it again. It's up to, to me, it's not going to make a big difference. However, like I said, we can do both parks, because, and I'm not here to squeeze the contractor, but I know what that 3,000 square foot plaza would cost as a construction person and as an estimator myself. So I'm sure we can do both parks for not much.
Thank you. You have anything else?
No, only the timing is critical. So I'll leave that for you. There's an old expression, and I talk about this everywhere we develop. The thing that kills deals mostly is time. So I want to ask if we can get to the end game on this, and we were hoping to be on the agenda Wednesday.
Can I make a recommendation?
Right.
So, Mr. Apicella, I have a question for you, because I think this could potentially close this out. Would you be willing to do the second park in addition, if we're able to get this on the agenda for Wednesday? We're looking at Grove Street, and then maybe at the end of May, we could look into what the cost of the Union Park is and see if that is something you'd be willing to do?
Yes, I mean, this can't be open-ended. It's not an open check. So if we put a number in not to exceed, I'd be fine with that.
That'll
But I
be,
can't be
Do you
open-ended.
have what that cost is?
the cost would be less than Grove Street, But if you want, we could just match it with Grove Street, not to exceed.
What does that mean? 60,000?
So right now,
I don't-
Grove Street,
I'm asking you for a
No,
number.
I know whatever Grove Street they said was gonna be, what about?
Grove Street stated between 30 and 40,000.
Okay, so the same thing, 30 to 40, you just put that in there.
I don't think
Not
there's
to
that
exceed.
much work there, is there?
I know, but it's better to make sure we have a not to exceed than to look at different things, because remember, there is.
But I think this is why it gets so confusing, because again, like, this was this was not on my map today, right? So I didn't realize that these, when you said, oh, I didn't realize this, because I feel like we're gonna end up prolonging this a lot longer than necessary, and
no.
we don't actually have a cost.
We don't, I'm giving you a course. You're looking at a.
Are you saying, so are you saying just to leave it at a certain number, and if it comes in below that?
That's fine.
We would agree to not to exceed 60,000.
There you go.
We'll put that down. We would agree to that. And if we can get grants and other things
We'll take that
to your satisfaction, then we'll make it work.
Okay, that's more,
That's fair.
no, 60,000 on one, you said it's.
No, 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 total.
See, total,
Total.
So wait up, the park is gonna cost, you said 30 to 40.
between 30 and 40
Right.
for Grove.
Okay, so make it 70.
That's a small park we're talking. I've been to Union.
I know, but it's not to exceed, so if it goes over, but I think if you're saying 30 to 40, we're talking about in the half, in the middle, that'll be 35, so that's 35, 35, that'll be 70. That's fair.
Okay,
Thank you, I appreciate it.
we'll see you Wednesday if that be the case.
Thank you, for your presentation, Mr. Apicella.
Thank you very much.
The pleasure of the council. We still have Brad here, so if you would like to see it on the agenda for Wednesday. And, Brad, if you can speak to what it would look like if it's on the agenda for Wednesday, what the
So-
ask is.
So the ask would be for your council to consider adopting this resolution, which would accomplish a couple different things. Declare yourselves as lead agency under SECRA, and then issue approval of the project. And the resolution that you currently have, I will revise in order to reflect the not to exceed 70,000 for both parks. So that language could be worked out between now and Wednesday, between me and your council.
Councilpersons, do you have any questions and or comments to that? Wallace?
I just want to say I'm happy with it.
All right. That's it. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Clarity?
Yeah.
Just need clarity. Mr. Apicella, if you could come up for a second. And want to make sure everybody's on the same page. Councilwoman Turnquist Jones.
So just wanted to make sure, is he designing the two parks? No?
No, he's just footing the bill.
We're gonna
You
fit
just
the,
footing the
we're gonna
bill?
fit the bill, but we're gonna work with, you have a parks, your parks director. We could work with your parks director and your historic preservation people.
Okay.
In the case of Union Park, to ensure that this is done in a tasteful way. I saw Union Park. It just, it's a historic park. There's a great amount of history and it's a learning experience. To me, that's more of a passive park than an active park. The other is more of an active park. I get what you're saying in terms of the neighborhood being more of an industrial area. I get that. But that's more of a passive, that Union is more of a passive park, a learning park, where there would be plaques and other things to educate those people who were there. There's homes literally across the street. It's in a residential neighborhood. It's in the middle of a residential, I went there
Right.
and I
the-
checked it out when I was made aware of
Okay.
that.
And the biggest cost of that is the plaques and everything. That is the biggest cost. And I got those costs already because I flew down to Memphis 3 weeks ago to go to the motel where Dr. King was killed. And
Gentlemen, I think we came to an
Thank you.
agreement, and I
We
think
have-
that we have to move on.
Thank you, Councilwoman. I'm speaking, please. Thank you. And from there, we have the course. So to
Well,
Councilwoman Jones, I don't know what's gonna go on with Grove Street Park, but there is, and there'll be a design given to us from Mr. Horton later on the park, so they'll have an architectural layout that we could all have, then we can look at it from there.
That's
Thank
fine.
you.
Thank you. Yes.
I appreciate you making sure we clarify this tonight, right? My understanding is that Mr. Apicella will actually perform the improvements, not just put in the bill, check and see if it's
Yes.
work.
We'll do the work.
Do the work, the value of
Correct.
$7,000.
Correct.
The beauty of it is that's what we do. We do parks, we do public areas. We're happy to do that. But in this instance, I want to work with the historians in the case of Union Park, because as Terrence pointed out, there's a great history that I didn't know about. When he spoke to me about it, I was blown away, frankly.
Yeah, and we'll have Dr. Sproul involved as well.
Yeah.
So we do have a whole bunch of historians that are looking at this same situation. And with that, it can be a magical thing for Mount Vernon and for everybody beyond that need to come from other places to see this and to set foot in that park.
So thank you so much. We look forward. to
Thank you
seeing
all.
on Wednesday.
Thank you for being reasonable. I appreciate that.
Yep, thank you. Next time, bring lunch. I'm just messing. Clerk, who do we have next? Coming up. Come back. Yes, who's our last presenter here? Well, yes, you can come on. I know we have our, planning commissioner, Mr. Rouse, and James Rouse and Pam Tarlow here, so did y'all need to say anything, or you good for now? Okay, you can come up, state your name and, yeah.
Well, good evening. Good evening, Madam Clerk. Good evening to the Council President. Good evening to the council members, also to your Commissioner, James Rouse. See Brian Johnson here, your Corporation Counsel, and Special Counsel Brad Schwartz is here. My name is Mark Blanchard with the Blanchard Law Group at 35 East Grassy Sprain Road, Yonkers, New York, 10710. I wish I could say that our project was tied into how it saved America. That was very impressive. But no such luck. I don't have such a wonderful sensationalist statement to make. However, I am here as part of a large working group, as part of the applicant for a zoning amendment petition. And even though I can't look backwards and go back and tie into the Revolutionary War, I think this project is representative of what the vision that Mount Vernon has been implementing for the last few years. Number one, we're here to ask you to invoke a transit-oriented development district that you've adopted and that you've used successfully across the railroad tracks from us on Prospect Street for another project. And we are just adjacent to a project I was involved with, to that downtown transit-oriented arts district. So thanks to this council, maybe not as embodied right now, but for the last few years, the way that you have been forward-thinking with your transit-oriented development projects, in particular to the Mount Vernon East. We all see the success of the Mount Vernon West, but your Mount Vernon East Metro North train station is, I think, what's happening right now, what we represent as a product of this council's vision and your staff, and Commissioner Rouse's vision, and your consultants and your attorneys and things of that nature. So we are here. It's 150 East First Street, 141 Washington Street. We're here to develop a affordable condominium, for ownership condominium building with the incentives that we're going to show you we qualify for. We're a 21-story building. We would fit within the TOD requirements. We have about 7,000 square feet of commercial retail space on our ground floor. We comply with the activation. We comply with the transparency of the first floor. We're providing 301, just about 300 parking requirements, so we're parking compliant. There's a lot of attractive measures to this project. We looked very carefully at the secret determinations that you adopted in 2025, February of 25. We would comply with the same, we are preparing the same Your council took care to focus on the shade study, your utility infrastructure capacity study, traffic studies. All of those studies right now for us are underway. We'll have them ready for you. I know you have a heavy agenda tonight, as you mentioned earlier, so I'll keep my remarks as brief as possible. We've submitted a detailed petition and detailed materials. I'm going to ask Mr. Shaheen Badali to come up in a second to give you some details about the building. But just as a general overview, what we're here for, as I mentioned, is the transit-oriented development concept. About 209 units split between 1-bedroom and 2-bedroom units. We are about a block away from the train station, walking distance to the train station. So we fully fit within the concept of the TOD. We're parking compliant. And like I said, we are the rising tide lifting all boats. We are now the third project coming in utilizing the transit-oriented concept to help revitalize the area around that Mount Vernon East train station. There's a lot more work to do here, so I'm going to keep my remarks brief. I mean, in the future weeks, future months. But Shaheen, if you want to speak to the renderings of the building, and then we have two other presenters that are going to speak briefly to other elements of the project. Okay.
Thank you, Mark. My name is Shaheen Badali. I'm the engineer for the project located at 2 Wilson Place, Mount Vernon, New York, 10550. So I'm just going to give you a brief rundown of what we're proposing here as it relates to the building and the site. The existing site is at the corner of First Street and Washington Avenue, and that's directly across from the platform of the Mount Vernon East train station. So if you're standing at the platform, you look straight out, that's essentially right where our site is. The lot is approximately 14,000 square feet. The first and second floor and all of the cellars and sub-cellars are approximately 13,000 square feet. And the upper floors are a little over, let's say about 11,000 square feet almost. On a typical floor, so that's floors 3 through 21, it's proposed to have 4 2-bedrooms and 7 1-bedrooms. So there's just a mix going across. The first floor and second floor have commercial areas. There's a 2-story commercial space, or both spaces are 2-story commercial spaces. We're tentatively showing 2 tenancies, a smaller restaurant tenancy or similar a retail with a higher visibility on the corner, and then another larger tenancy behind it. The development proposes to use an automated parking system with 5 cellars right now, which accommodates a little more than, or let's say about 230 to 240 cars as designed. The project under the TOD1 zoning would require upwards of 135 parking spaces. So we'd be well above what would be required, and the additional parking could provide some relief for the neighborhood as well. In terms of amenities, we also have a large rooftop space displaying a green roof, as well as other items such as an area for a cookout and hanging area. We have a dog run, and there's just other items displayed. That's generally the high level gist of the project. We also have entrances displayed along First Street for the commercial component of the building, and the residential enters along Washington Street, just in terms of access to the building. Thank you. Oh, and I'd like to just introduce the principal of the project, Marquise, please.
Good evening, Council President Thompson and esteemed councilpersons. My name is Marquis Lovin. I currently live in California, Bellflower, California, by way of the Bronx. I have a lot of love for Mount Vernon because I spent a lot of my formative years walking up and down 4th Avenue, you know, shopping for my clothes and so forth. And also Mount Vernon is a special place in my heart because it shaped me with Billy Thompson letting me into the Boys and Girls Club to learn how to play basketball. That helped me get to college and do, you know, great things from there. I also love Mount Vernon because at 4th Street, I learned that I wasn't going to the NBA by playing against, you know, people like Scooter and Rodney McRae and You know, some of those guys that give me reality check. So a lot of love for Mount Vernon, but I'm here to talk about the development that we're going to put up at 150 East First Street. And the thing that I want to just leave with you is home ownership. We're about home ownership. We know that Mount Vernon has been a place where a lot of folks, including my mother, who at one point had a house here, because that was our aspiration, being from the Bronx, was to move to Mount Vernon, and she was able to do that. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to do it because I already had moved out, but that was for her an accomplishment. But when it was time for me to buy a house, I had to go all the way to New Jersey because I couldn't afford a home in Mount Vernon. So we want to change that. We want to help to be part of the solution of allowing our young people, whether they're from Mount Vernon proper or surrounding, to be able to afford home ownership as quickly as possible. So it's home ownership. 209 units, 114 will be one bedroom, 95 will be two bedrooms. And it will be based on the AMI of 80%. We are also leveraging public and private partnership to make it affordable to the tune of getting someone into those units for under $300,000 out of their pockets. So, you know, as far as we are concerned, Mount Vernon is at the right place because based on just, I've been paying attention obviously to your council sessions. I could see that, you know, the leadership here is strong and you guys are forward thinking. And I call Mayor Patterson Howard my mayor now, even though I don't live here, because I'm impressed with just the leadership that I've seen from you. And we trust you. You know, we believe that this is the time to invest in Mount Vernon. We're willing to do that. We want to partner with you to bring home ownership to Mount Vernon residents. Thank you. And I want to introduce Ms. Connie Post. She will talk more about the project. Thank you so much.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Jerry Post. I live at 115 Overlook Street, Mount Vernon, New York. I am a professional planner with an AICP certification. I've also had the privilege of being the planning commissioner here in Mount Vernon for approximately 20 years. And during that time, I had the opportunity to study the railroad cut extensively. And the Mount Vernon East Railroad cut is probably the most important cut when you're talking about redevelopment of the downtown core. This area, which provides the transportation hub that goes to New York City and south, and it goes north to Connecticut. And I've ridden that train when I worked in Stamford. And I got to tell you that this is an opportunity right now, not just with the development we're proposing, but the developments that you proposed at the other site, the Prospect Avenue, the Portugal Place site, et cetera, to really foster a type of community that would be so exciting to our city. Let me just go back a little bit. When we were studying the railroad cut for under Mayor Davis, it was talking about a hotel and things like that, okay? Which is fine. However, the biggest issue here is that we have people who live here, who have children who live here, who are leaving here. Mount Vernon's population is getting older. We have one of the oldest populations in Westchester County. And we need to bring some youth into our community. And how do you do that? You bring in youth who can afford to live here. The problem is that at current levels, a single-family house exceeds a young professional's ability to afford it. And so the way to create an environment so that they can afford it is to create condominiums, because condominiums are different from co-ops and other and rental housing, because in a condominium you own the floors, the ceiling, and it becomes your house. It's not, you don't own stock in a corporation. You don't pay rent to another landlord who's getting the benefits of all the tax incentives, et cetera. The person who is buying into that is going to be getting all the benefits and also providing to the community the benefit of them living here. Because if I live here, and I'm living on the railroad cut, I'm taking the train every morning. I'm going to Manhattan, or I'm going to someplace in Connecticut or in northern Westchester or whatever. And when I come home, I'm not going to go shopping for my food in these places and carry it on the train. I'm going to look around and see my community and how, when I get off that train, can I walk to a grocery store? Can I get a cup of coffee? Can I buy some stuff that I need for my my pantry or whatever? So those things are very beneficial. And right now, the time for Mount Vernon East development is here. And what I'm saying to you is, what we can do is keep our young people here, bring in more young professionals and young families. We can provide them with home ownership housing, which provides everybody who has home ownership. That's the biggest investment they're going to make in their life. And it's also their biggest asset. So let Mount Vernon take advantage of that and create opportunities. And the Mount Vernon East Railroad cut is the best opportunity to do that. Now, you have created a TOD across the track. However, there's another side of a track, and there's property on the other side of the track that are ripe for redevelopment. So please consider that this is the opportunity to do that. And you have people who are willing to invest millions of dollars to do that. And I, for one, am a cheerleader for this project because I think it's going to work. And I think it will benefit Mount Vernon. And I think Mount Vernon will get the benefits of taxes, and not only property tax, but sales tax out of this whole situation. And also create a more pleasing environment than right now, where it's just basically warehousing and buildings that have, they're obsolete, and they're not going to be redeveloped for the commercial use anymore. So let's take the opportunity that we have now. So I thank you for listening to me, and I hope that we can work together on this project.
So we're not, so that concludes our presentations, unless, of course, there are questions. But the issue is, we're not here kind of in the abstract, right? We're here with the petition. We're here ready to get going. It's a long process, or at least it's a detailed process. So the ask would be that we can get on your Wednesday agenda. This body here obviously is the lead agency. We're looking to have you establish lead agency, begin our review, begin our ability to bring more formal information to you, begin our ability to get comments from the public, and begin our review process.
How many stories is this building currently asking to be?
It's currently asking to be 21. With the incentives that are available under the TOD, we're asking for 21.
All right, because as per the comp plan is 15 in that area, and you want to go up to 21.
Well, it's 15, but we align with the TOD as it was utilized about 18 months ago. It's 15. You can go up to 21 if you hit certain incentives, which we would show the city, that the council, that we would qualify for.
Okay, Gleason has a question.
Yeah, sure. Of course.
Do you even have an application into the city yet?
Yes, we have.
Oh, you do?
We've submitted a petition a few weeks ago. We've amended that petition and submitted an amended petition. We submitted an EAF, we submitted our zoning amendment petition, we submitted an environmental assessment form. We have a cover letter on top of that. And we have submitted, we did not submit a traffic study. We're still finalizing that. We did not submit a shadow study. We're finalizing that, which would be appropriate in the upcoming weeks when we're working with you.
So I think.
We
you're
have a zoning
stepping
analysis.
bit ahead of-
Sorry.
I think you're stepping a little bit ahead of the process, so I'd like to, if it's okay,
We're gonna-
Council President, if we can have our attorney.
We're gonna have our land use attorney to
Thank
come
you.
up. Brad, if you can.
Good evening again. So Mr. Blanchard is correct. He did submit, on behalf of his client, a zoning petition and a number of other supporting documents, together with that petition. Anytime there's a request by an applicant, a landowner, to ask for a zoning change, the very first step in the process is for your council to decide whether to even accept that zoning petition for processing. A zoning change is a completely legislative action within your complete legislative discretion. It's not like a site plan or a subdivision or a special permit application when a developer submits it and the land use board has to process it. A zoning change is a very different animal. Again, it's within your complete discretion to decide whether to even accept the petition for processing. So they submitted the petition. Your council has not yet decided whether to accept it for processing. All the applicant is here for tonight is a concept presentation to give some information and make an initial presentation. So the request to start being placed on an agenda for secret and lead agency and to start the formal process is respectfully getting a little ahead too quick. Your council first needs to deliberate, process the information that was put before you this evening, and decide, is this even a petition that your council wants to entertain? If you're ready to make that decision tonight, terrific. If you're not, you take the time you need in order to make that decision.
I have a question.
Wallace?
Oh, but you want to go first?
No, you go first.
Wallace.
Maybe you're gonna say my question.
Yeah, well, I have a few questions, so mine will be back.
For
to-
me or for the applicant?
No.
And let me just ask my
for
question.
you.
Let me-
Yeah, go ahead.
So, the Finance and Planning Chair, Mr. Boxill, has this, project been discussed in committee? Okay, thank you. That's it.
He said it has not.
My question, Brad, is a few different questions. One, because Council President made a very good point, because we had a comprehensive plan that allowed 15 stories. I get that. But also, aren't we right now out looking for someone or an agency to do our zoning amendments and all of that stuff for the city of Mount Vernon?
That is correct.
So what they are saying is to supersede that before that happens, for us to overturn and grant like maybe an overlay or something else? Is that what's going on?
Yeah, I mean, I think the council could answer that. Yes, I think that they are asking the city council to consider a zoning change for this property in advance of the city undertaking the more global zoning initiative.
So my question is this, the people already went through a rigorous series of meetings and everything else to do a comprehensive plan, which this comprehensive plan then comes with the zoning that we're looking for to do right now. Okay. I don't understand how we could even bypass what these people have already put their time into before that is finished and completed by having the proper zoning. So what they're saying is for us as the council members to supersede the public, go around and give them a zoning change before the zoning comes through? Okay.
So that is the ask. And Mr. Wallace, I will answer you this way, right? If the council was inclined, you could do that. But I would caution, particularly if the proposed zoning was consistent with the comprehensive plan. I think what you heard tonight is that there's a question of whether this is even consistent with the comprehensive plan. So I think that if the answer is no, then that could potentially shut out any idea of the council advancing on the zoning without the comprehensive plan, again, kind of catching up.
Right, because I do understand. Well, go ahead. I'll grant the gentleman.
So, Councilmember Wallace, appreciate that question, but I think that if we take that question out to its furthest, it would grind all development in this area, the whole city, to a halt until the contemplated zoning, which right now is speculative. Yes, it's based on a downtown vision plan, components of a comprehensive plan, but I don't think the council's intention is to ground zoning to a halt and stop development. I think we're coming forward with a project. We looked at very closely what you adopted in February of 2025, when this body adopted a negative declaration as it relates to the project across the tracks from us on Prospect Street. Within your negative declaration on Prospect Street, you identified a soft spot, a soft site on Prospect and I think it's Alexander, right? There's a parcel right next to you. You identified a soft spot potential for development. And you identified in your findings that that site, although not developed right now, could support a 21-story building, and it would be consistent. It would be consistent with the Downtown Vision Project and with the information you have compiled so far in the comprehensive plan. So in that negative declaration, I can read it for you.
May I just,
Lisa?
Council President? Excuse me, Mr. Blanchard, I just want to ask a question. So what other projects have done in correlation with the comp plan has taken an area, not just that site, but can take an area in that particular, surrounding that property and write that zone for that would be the same as what's recommended under the comp plan. And keep in mind, that to us is a less cost to the city. We won't have to do that area. And that might be an ask of what if it, and this is just because this is really just, this was supposed to be a 10-minute informal. And it's getting into like actual project presentation. But one thing I would say is if we considered this project is I would ask you guys to do a whole area surrounding that property.
Well, I understand what you're saying. That's what we did in the DETO district. But
Yeah.
here, what we're trying to do here is we're trying to couple with that's already been done across the tracks from us at that one city block area for the other project. For example, in your secret findings from last year, the project at 154 East Prospect Avenue and 14 Rich Avenue, that's the address of a potential soft development site. It says, if so, a 21-story mixed-use building could be developed here. The potential soft site development would be consistent with and supportive of the goals of the Downtown Vision Plan. This is not developed, but when you look at the map, it's a half mile from where we're developing, but only a half mile because you have to go down Elm Cross Park and come down first. As the crow flies, it's probably less than a quarter mile. So what we're coming forward to you saying is that we believe we studied your previous actions very carefully. And we think we can, instead of doing a whole new district, which is a subject of future conversations, and we're not saying no, of course. But what we're coming forward and saying is that we think we connect nicely to that TOD1 that's right across the tracks from us. So I think that's a scary question you asked, because if we implement, with all due respect, if we go down that road, then I think we shut down the revitalization of Mount Vernon East. Not that you're suggesting we do that, but I think the comprehensive plan process is so long and so arduous that we'd like you to continue to study this, maybe simultaneously with answering that question. But we think you should continue to study our proposal with the work that you've done just about 18 months ago.
So let me ask you a question while you're standing there. So you guys just say you're ready to go and all, you guys own the properties there?
Yes.
Who owns the property?
I believe, right? Am I answering correct? Yes, we're coming forward as the owners.
So
yes.
you purchased the property already?
Yes,
Okay, so that whole thing is all ready to go?
yes. That's what I'm saying. We're not here in the abstract. We're here ready to move forward.
Okay, and you're looking for a zoning change?
We're looking for a map amendment, yes, to include our zone. Right now, we're the CB and the RMF 6.75 on two of our parcels.
Yeah, I
We
know
are
where it
looking to
is.
be converted to the TOD1.
Mhm.
Just like the conversion across the tracks. We want to mirror that on our side.
Okay, if we may, I just want to hear, the planning commissioner point of view, because I had a question for him.
If you can, Commissioner Rouse.
Thank you, council members. So the site in question is zoned for TOD, and the way Transorient Development is being characterized as if it's something specific, it's a tool, it's a process, it's a procedure. The TOD1 was specifically the name for this specific rezoning, just as DTOD was the name for that specific rezoning. When the comprehensive plan was adopted, the preference was to adopt the comp plan as is, move forward with zoning amendments, and then the next step would proceed to redo the entire zoning ordinance while individual applications would go for specific zoning amendments. The intention was not to take a zone and then just stretch it and expand it as a developer requests. It was done not site specific, but in aggregate. Like DTOD was 2 blocks. TOD1 was an entire block. There are soft sites within that. And if you look at the language, the soft sites are within what's been rezoned already. So TOD is allowed here. You can build much more as per the comp plan than what is currently allowed. It's with incentives, based on incentive density bonus, you could build up to 15 stories. The reason it was done that way, because after discussions with the consultants that we hired and the community, was that because of the generalized narrow and shallow nature of the blocks along First Street, we kind of landed at 15 stories. There was discussion of it being 21 stories, but because of those specific blocks, except for maybe one site, the Boys and Girls Club site, we were allowing for density, but it had to fit within to allow for setbacks and side yards and things like that, just based on the lots.
So a question on this one, this would be a spot zoning on this particular project?
So what they're requesting is to stretch what 140 East Prospect and Rich Avenue across the tracks to their site, even though there is a site in between, and that's both the MTA and county parking lots that are there. So this zoning would have to stretch through that. And that was never the intent or the spirit of allowing for zoning amendments while we redo the zoning ordinance. They were supposed to be individual applications each based on the parameters and guidelines set in the comprehensive plan.
So let me ask you one more question. I know with Library Square, they had rezoned that area up there, going around from First Street down to Second, around to Third, coming all the way back, all the way to, I think, Second Avenue. Is that a zone that they are going to try to extend all the way down instead?
No, that was a specific zoning. It's as petitioned. That was the proposal from the developer. So
Okay.
those 2 blocks were the zoning proposal because they didn't want to zone for spot zoning, and it was discussed prior to my arrival here that, take a bigger look at the surrounding area. And that was prior to the adoption of the comp plan, but in discussions with the developer, they committed to rezoning 2 full blocks. And there's another developers have come in asking specifically about DTOD, saying, can we take DTOD and put it over on this side of downtown, and saying, no, you have to file your own zoning petition based on the comprehensive plan parameters.
Okay, thank you.
If that makes sense.
Any other council persons? No?
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Well, I guess we'll have to ask that we be on, the next available meeting or whatever the next available step might be for us. We'd like the council to consider, as Mr. Schwartz discussed, at least the acceptance of the petition to begin the review. Right now, we've submitted, we're in a little bit of a holding pattern. Accepting the petition doesn't guarantee approval. Accepting the petition allows the process to start. So we're asking for at least the acceptance.
So it sounds, yeah.
My question would be to Brad on how he feels about that and what he thinks about that particular issue. You mind commenting on that? Because I think it seems to be a little premature, but you're the attorney.
So
Also, can I just tag on to what
Go
Councilman
ahead.
Wallace said? So we've had this discussion in the past and the agreement had been that, any of the projects would go through planning department first, and if they were coming to city council, that our consultants, Pat Cleary and Brad, would be brought in. So I'm limited on what knowledge you have of this project, and have you and Pat and the commissioner actually been able to sit down and review this project?
no,
Okay, thank you.
so
Just to clarify, Mr. Schwartz wasn't involved, but unless I'm mistaken, wasn't there a meeting? I believe there was a project meeting with the mayor's office and the commissioner, although I'm not speaking for the commissioner. There was a preliminary meeting with the mayor's office.
So my understanding with the history of how this process went was that conversations were had with the buildings department first, and then on the advice the buildings department had proceeded. Following that, I know our IDA director, Pamela Tarlow, it was brought to her attention, just talking about the possibility of using home funds for this project, which she shared that the city has limited home funds in general for every project, and that the team should discuss it with PCD. And I've caught wind with it, other than just casual, hallway conversation, was the mayor invited me down to a meeting last minute where the project was introduced to me, and then we had a meeting last week. It did not involve Brad nor Pat. Sure.
Okay, so.
So I
it's the
think
pleasure of the council.
my question really to Brad to continue is, what is the next step and what's the process going forward, so everybody's clear on the pathway?
So the next step would be for the applicant to meet with Commissioner Rouse, myself, and Pat Cleary to present the application, discuss it. And then the planning department can come back and make a recommendation to the council. But ultimately, it is the council's call, Mr. Wallace, to decide whether your board, as the elected officials, want to entertain the zoning petition. So I think a staff meeting is a good idea, so that the staff can get a better grasp of what the project is all about. And then together we can have a conversation with your council. We could discuss the pros, the cons, right, the timing, and then ultimately it's up to the council to decide as the next step procedurally whether to accept the petition or not.
Box Hill?
No, I was just wondering how soon can you guys meet up to facilitate this meeting?
I think we do it over the next week or so.
All right, and then you'll just get back to us and make your recommendations, both you and Commissioner. All right.
Okay.
Okay, we'll work with Brad. I'll work through Brad and the staff to set up that meeting in the commissioner's office. Thank you for hearing our presentation.
Yes, thank you.
The only thing I would just add, I don't know if it's too late to do so now for this week's agendas, but an establishment of an escrow, and typically your council needs to authorize that establishment. So if your council would like us to have that meeting, if you could authorize the establishment of an escrow account this week, that would be helpful to facilitate the scheduling of that process. If you remember, myself and Cleary Consulting are paid by the, through the escrows.
Right, okay.
So.
Yep.
That's what I just asked. So let the council decide that later tonight.
All right, thank you.
Council persons, you have any other questions and no concerns? Box Hill?
So Nicole, that would have to be on the agenda for Wednesday? Yeah, I'm saying, yeah, I'm fine with setting another escrow just so they can have the discussion, because that comes out of their budget, right? So yeah, I'm fine with that.
Okay, great. Thank you so much. Thank you, Councilmember.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. That should have been our last presentation for the evening. Yes? Thank you so much, Brad.
Oh, gentlemen, think about a community benefit if we should move forward. So you guys should be prepared that we're gonna ask for a community benefit for Mount Vernon. So, thank you.
Thank you. So we're gonna, do we have anything else? Does, Commissioner Rouse, Director Tarlo, do you have anything for the council before we move? No, they were here for all the land use, but, yeah. So, we know that you have I think one thing on the agenda, but do y'all want to say anything beforehand, or you just want to wait for it to come? Or has it come? Okay.
Hi, I came for the presentation and also because of the park and lieu fee issue. And if you had any questions, there's been quite a bit of discussion by some residents who have sent emails, and I wanted to make sure we were clear. I had met with many of you prior, and we had discussed the issues on the park and lieu fee. One is that there is an inconsistency between the comp plan and the zoning ordinance. The comp plan was adopted in November of 2025. There were people that were in process working on variances for their parking issues during that period of time. Now, original parking requirements would be 2 parking spots per unit, regardless of the number of bedrooms, which is sort of counterintuitive to modern planning. So it's not a great policy choice, but in this process, there were 2, and I think I list them both for you in this report. There were 2 people in the period of time that we think they are concerning. One was 420 North Terrace, which is $109,000. And the other parking fees for variances was related to a small one, which was $1,000. Those 2 within the time period of November to June, which is what I had discussed with members of the council before, as a very short time period that we would limit the price because of the issues I just described. That would be about $56,000 that the city would lose. I understand there are concerns because we have financial impacts, but the fundamental question is, are we focusing on economic development? And if we are, do we want to lose this small apartment building, which has an opportunity to build? We have an opportunity for a 12-unit building, market rate, and we will lose it because he cannot get financing with a full 10% of construction costs in an in lieu fee that he didn't know about when he put his process together. So I've discussed this with most of you. It's your decision, it's your fee, but if you had any questions of me, I wanted to answer those.
Thank you.
I guess, has there been any discussion with the controller about the fees and how any fiscal impact analysis with the controller? You've weighed in?
So this is the 3rd time that I have taken the same staff report and put it out there. I understand that the controller sees every council item before it goes to the council. So I didn't speak to him specifically about this project. However, I have spoken to him in the past about this issue.
Right.
He knows about the units. After I spoke to council and they gave me a time period to reduce the fee to 50%, I did not go back to him to say it would be $56,000.
All right, thank you.
Sure.
Thank you. Any other questions, council persons? No? Okay. Thank you, Director Tarlo. We're gonna move right into our tally sheet. Yes.
President, I would
Yes.
like to make a motion to go into executive session to consult legal for some legal advice.
In regards to?
Yeah.
All right, motion.
I would just characterize, Mr. Box as an advice of counsel session.
Advice of council session. Thank you.
Okay.
Stand corrected. So, okay,
Second?
thank you.
Roll call in executive session?
Councilmember Box Hill,
Aye.
Councilmember Gleason,
Aye.
Councilmember Turnquest Jones,
Aye.
Councilmember Wallace,
Aye.
Council President Thompson.
Aye. The time is now 9 minutes after 9, and we're going to executive session.
Advice of counsel session.
Mhm.
I'll make a motion to come out of executive session.
Second.
Roll call on next executive session.
Councilmember Box Hill,
Aye.
Councilmember Gleason,
Aye.
Councilmember Turnquest Jones.
Aye.
Councilmember Wallace,
Aye.
Council President Thompson.
Aye. We're getting right into our tally sheet, legislation and public works.
Thank you so
Lisa?
much, Council President. Item number one, management services, an ordinance authorizing a budget transfer and improving payment to Vertosoft for OpenGov asset management and permitting and licensing software through solutions for the Department of Public Works. That is on the agenda. Greg, you've reviewed that? Thank you so much. Item number two, management services, an ordinance authorizing the mayor to execute a 36-month service renewal agreement with Spectrum Business for dedicated fiber internet, managed network, edge services, static IP services, and DDoS protection. Greg, have you reviewed that? Do you see any issues with it? Thank you so much. That is on the agenda. Item number three, Mayor's Office. A resolution authorizing the mayor to attend the New York Conference of Mayors 2026 annual meeting and approving associated expenditures. That has already gone through the Board of Estimate and Contract, correct? That is on the agenda. Item number four, Office of the
I
Mayor.
had a question on that one.
Okay, we'll get back to that.
Okay.
All right. Item number four, Office of the Mayor, an ordinance authorizing travel for a representative of the mayor's office to attend the Cities United Leading the Way Tour, peer exchange convening. Was that Board of Estimate and Contract also approved? Okay, but their time off from the city is going, right? Okay, thank you. Okay, thank you. Item number five, Office of the Mayor, an ordinance ratifying and approving the collective bargaining agreement between the City of Mount Vernon and the Civil Service Employees Association. That is agenda pending, and the reason why it's agenda pending, I wanted to go over it with the Comptroller's Office. Item number six, Office of the Mayor, an ordinance authorizing the office relocation, space optimization, and renovation plan for the Department of Recreation and the Department of Buildings and authorize related expenditures. That is on the agenda. Item number seven, Recreation, Department of Recreation, an ordinance authorizing the Department of Recreation to co-sponsor the Yusuf Shah Islamic Center Juneteenth Health Fair at Hartley Park, Saturday, June 6, 2026. That is on the agenda. Item number eight, Department of Public Works, an ordinance authorizing the celebration of National Public Works Week in the city of Mount Vernon from May 17th through May 23rd. That is on the agenda. Item number nine, City Council, local law number of 2026, a local law amending Article 7-A-86-B of the Mount Vernon City Charter regarding compensation of the Capital Projects Board. That is on the agenda. I have an add-on, and then we'll go back to item number, I think it was item number 4, right? My add-on, pardon me, Management Services, Department of Management Services, an ordinance authorizing the mayor to enter into a 24-month managed server storage backup services agreement with Highlink Technology Group through SHI International Corp. Pursuant to Sourcewell Cooperative Purchasing Contract Number 121923-SHI. That is on the agenda. And Councilman Wallace. you
Okay,
want to go
Wallace had a question about
item
number three.
Hold on. Go ahead.
Item number 3 was for NICOM.
Mm-hmm.
Why are we doing reimbursements when we're on an austerity budget? And myself and Councilwoman Jones is paying for our own way to this situation. I mean, to the conference. So I don't understand why are we even doing or requesting reimbursements.
I can ask her that question.
You said you can answer it?
I said I can ask her that question.
Yeah, because that's,
Okay.
you know, if we're on an austerity budget, we got to be on an austerity budget. And I figured the way I see it is that if Councilwoman Jones could pay for it, I could pay for it. She makes more money, she can pay for it. We shouldn't have the taxpayers paying for this because it's something smaller. And if it's got anything to do with others, but like getting up there, whatever, she can ride with me. I'll pick the mayor up and drive her up there and drive her back and drop her home. I have no problem. We could get to talk and hang out for a little bit. That's good. But still in all, we could all party, pool up there and do what we got to do. But I don't think that it's a good look when we're on an austerity budget to be going up there on the taxpayers' dime instead of not on our own. That's how I feel about it.
Yeah. Okay, so, I can ask her that question.
Right, the majority of this, you're looking at this was $700, not to exceed $700. I don't,
186.78 to be exact.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's exactly, that's for the hotel rooms, because I paid the hotel room already.
so, no, well,
But her
her cost
registration is
was,
covered.
right, they covered the cost for, other stuff, but yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
because I paid the fee already for it. It cost me $400 to get in. Cost me about another almost $450, $500, whatever it was for my room and board. And then I got to pay gas, so it's going to cost me $1,000. But if we all go together or whatever, we
We're
can
gonna,
save some money.
well, Gleason will get back to us.
Huh? Okay, that's fine.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Any other questions for legislation and public works? Moving right along to human resources, Turnquest Jones.
Thank you, sir.
Mhm.
Number 10, Department of Recreation and Ordinance authorizing a partnership with the Optimum for the City of Mount Vernon Employee Appreciation Day event, Monday, May 18th, 2026, on City Hall Plaza. That is on the agenda. Number 11, Youth Bureau. An ordinance authorizing the City of Mount Vernon Youth Bureau to host the 6th annual Let Your Colors Shine Pride Day event, authorizing the rising of the Pride flag at City Hall and providing the public safety support and related expenditures. Friday, June 5th, 2026, from 3:30 p.m. to 6:30 p.m. at City Hall Plaza. That is on the agenda. Number 12, Recreation. Department of Recreation, an ordinance authorizing the mayor to enter into an agreement with the County of Westchester for the Fun-Filled Summer Park Activation Program grant. That is on the agenda. Number 13, Recreation. Department of Recreation, an ordinance amending ordinance number 1, adopted by the City Council of March 25th, 2026, entitled an ordinance authorizing, the Department of Recreation to co-sponsor the Antigua and Barbuda International Cultural Association, ABICA International Food Festival. That is on the agenda. And that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Any
Any
questions for
questions?
human resources? Hearing none, public safety and codes? Wallace?
Thank you, Council President. Okay, I have number 14, Consumer Protection, it's March 2026, a monthly report, that's for information. Number 15 is Consumer Protection, April 2026, monthly report, that's for information. Management Services, an ordinance authorizing the mayor to execute a 3-year lease agreement with BEI Holding, Inc., DBA Business Electronics, for the upgrade of the police department interview room recording system. That is on the agenda. And then the city council, local law amending chapter 102 of the code of the city of Mount Vernon,
Bless you.
updating the code enforcement program. That is pending, information.
You putting this agenda pending?
Yeah, agenda pending, because I read it like 5 times over, but there's a whole lot of questions I gotta ask because it just seemed a little vague to me on things. Maybe I'll sit with corporate counsel about that, corporation counsel or somebody. Yeah, because I didn't know the codes. I was trying to go back to 360 codes and look at some of those. Tell me what those codes are. Explain it to me. Explain what's happening. Because I see also, is it going from 500 to 1,000 or is it, okay, with the codes? Yeah. Okay. So, all right. I'd like to hear it.
Mm-hmm. Push the button.
Good evening, Honorable Council. To answer your question, so basically, what the law department and the building department envision is that we will be changing and making the code enforcement program that we adopted in conjunction with the state last year more easier to read. But in the short term, what this amendment is to do is we're setting the city up to explore code enforcement from a civil perspective rather than a quasi-criminal perspective that we've been doing. We've been working with an attorney who has instituted this program in Yonkers, and it has been a success. It's a new way of code enforcement. And so he felt that there were some of these changes which are just increasing the fees these are for LLCs that are just not taking care of their properties. And we're going to start basically filing lawsuits as opposed to going into the city court and where they don't really respond and the court is backed up. This is another mechanism or tool for the city to crack down on LLCs who have evaded us. So when they go to county court, they come and they bring attorneys, and it's been quite effective.
I saw something else in there that said something about the fine being, or fine for people working without permits, so as well. And I see that, but my question with that particular thing is, when it takes some people 2 years to get a permit out the building department, and they decide like their roof is leaking or something and have to fix it. Okay, how do you go back and find these people when you are not, when the building, not you, but the building department is not doing the proper job to make sure that these people have their permit on time? Is there going to be, or can you put a clause in there for that particular thing? Because I know if I went to the building department and I put in for a permit and I've been waiting 6 months to a year, which is a standard practice here. And I know this because I'm always at the building department or call it in because it seems like everybody's waiting months and years. One person I had to address is like over 2 years for a permit. So how do we deal with that? Because I know the frustration of people waiting for 6 months to a year for a permit. Man, I could build my house by then. So what are we gonna do about that?
Well, first off, it's discretionary, right? And I would presume that the city would use discretion in instances such as the ones that you're talking about, where the fee would not be imposed by someone who had that type of situation.
Right, but if all the other stuff is in writing, why can't that be in writing? Why can't we have a clause that says if you've been waiting over 3 months or 6 months, that you don't have, that fee wouldn't apply to you? Because by that time, it's taking forever for somebody to get a permit.
We can take as you said, we can have a discussion between now and Wednesday about some of your ideas.
I want to put it on, but these are the questions that I have
Okay.
that'll be unfair to people that's coming in that has to wait so long for a permit.
Right, but that's.
Those
the-
are case by case basis.
Yeah, that's not the intent of the legislation. The intent, obviously, is we have a lot of unsafe and dangerous properties
Oh, no,
when
know
we
that.
have people who are just not responding and playing the LLC shell game and
Yeah,
all these other kinds of things. So that's the intent of the legislation. But we can have a conversation. And tomorrow, as you know, you and I have been talking about different legislative ideas. So,
Okay.
all right. So we'll
that
give
was
you a
the-
call.
That was the only thing on here.
Okay.
Everything else I agree with 100%.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions for public safety and codes? Hearing none. Finance and planning, Boxer. Take your time, but hurry up.
Thank you. From the Office of the Control and Ordinance, authorizing the establishment of a policy of waiver of health insurance. That is going to be on the agenda. Number 19, Office of the Controller, an ordinance adopting the City of Mount Vernon finance policy and procedures document and related management policies. So, this one is specifically related to the cash management process.
Okay.
All right, it's on the agenda, sorry. Number 20, number 19 is on the agenda. Number 20, an ordinance authorizing the adoption of a comprehensive policy and procedure document and related policies. They all say the same, but there was broken out from the last meeting where there was all one document. So this number 20 is related to the financial journal entry policy and procedures. And that's going to be on the agenda. 21, an ordinance authorizing the adoption of comprehensive finance policy and procedures document related to financial policies. And this is the electronic fund transfer policy. That's going to be on the agenda. 22, an ordinance approving and adopting the finance policy and procedures document related to financial policies. And this is the corporate credit card policy. I'm not sure if anyone had any questions about that. Sure.
My concerns is about giving out credit cards. I'm not for it. I'm not going to
I know you did that.
vote yes on that particular thing because I feel as if giving credit cards out in the condition that the city's in and the financials right now is in, I don't think we need to put in more risk with people having credit cards. I'm fine with if anything you want to spend it and then get your receipt, because usually when you put a credit card in somebody's hand, they want to spend even more and they're more liable to spend. So I just don't agree with the whole thing. And if anybody's watched the whole national report of what's going on with consumers throughout the whole country, and I see that the Treasury Secretary came up and said, we're doing great, the economy is doing great. People are spending more money than ever on their credit cards. Yeah, the banks are happy, everybody else is happy. People are spending more on credit cards right now because they don't have cash because of all the tariffs and everything else. We intend to use credit cards more often than not. So I don't think putting the risk of people saying my card was stolen, my card was lost, this guy used my card. We don't need all of that. I say just keep it the old fashioned way. That's how I feel about it.
So attached with the document, it just, the objectives of the municipal credit cards are to simplify travel arrangements, facilitate record keeping, and to provide a means of payment when a purchase order or invoicing protocol cannot be facilitated. And it's going to be issued to department heads, elected officials, the controller. Yeah, and it gives the amounts, the mayor 5,000, council member 2,000, controller 10, department heads 2. and so on.
Usually, if you have to utilize any of those funds, it's itemized beforehand, and you use the card instead of waiting on reimbursements.
That's what they're trying to say.
But you know, I particularly don't need a credit card. And as far as utilizing credit cards, I'm not a millionaire, but I use my credit cards to keep my credit cards open, so you have that line of credit, so you continue to have great credit. Like I have an excellent credit score, so that's the
Yeah.
purpose of my credit cards. But I don't need any additionals for myself.
I agree with you
Yeah.
100%. I'm just uncomfortable with that, giving out credit cards to everybody and all the commissioners,
Right.
because too many things can happen. And then we're gonna have to be accountable to answer to all the people that come up here and want to know what's going on and yelling at us about this whole thing. I don't want a credit card. I don't need a credit card.
Mhm.
I will pay for whatever, and I don't even want a reimbursement. That's why we get a salary. So I don't care about that. But still in all, I don't think it's a great idea. That's how I feel about it. So,
Noted.
Do we want to
Yeah.
call for it?
I mean, we should let the controller speak on it. I mean, I personally am not interested in having a credit card by the city. I mean, it's almost been 3.5 years and I've never needed to.
when people have those credit cards, they intend to use them.
But we also have to take into consideration that we're not here during the day-to-day
Right, that's why I said,
activities. So
what-
we definitely need the comptroller to weigh in.
yeah,
Because we're not working in and out of City Hall. All of us have different jobs during the day. And you know, we'll just what do you want, this agenda pending for Wednesday?
so I mean, the finance office says they're gonna review monthly statements on each card. They're gonna sign off on each monthly statement to verify that each transaction has been accounted for. Follow up is appropriate to investigate unusual transactions, act immediately upon receipt of advice that abuse or irregularities are known or suspected. They're gonna maintain all of the cardholders' records. Cancel a card when a cardholder's employment with the municipality is terminated or an officer's term ends. Follow up with the financial institution on the lost or stolen cards to confirm the card is canceled. And the monthly statement for the Department of Finance shall be signed off by the controller or designee. So, I mean, I'm not gonna say not necessary because I do think I think there was a provision at the beginning that says you can decline if you don't want to have a credit card. But like Council President stated, I mean, if this is something that the controller has, weighed in on
'Cause-
operations, let him speak on that.
Yeah, and I do understand day-to-day operations where you have to utilize your own funds. And I'm never gonna count anybody's pockets, but you gotta utilize your own funds and then have to wait, and sometimes that could be a month to 3 months before you're reimbursed for whatever you have. And if you have children or you're taking care of your household and other people, it can be strenuous. So I would like the comptroller to weigh in on this, and I think if we put an agenda pending, you could probably get an answer tomorrow. And then you can decide to call for it on Wednesday, so we can see how that goes. What's the pleasure of the council?
Do agenda pending.
So is agenda pending?
Yeah.
Thank you. You can continue.
I lost my place. 23, an ordinance adopting the finance policy and procedures, document and related financial policies, 23. This is the vehicle risk policy. All right. 24,
No, one second.
that's on the agenda, sorry.
I had a question with that
go ahead.
too. Because but that's okay. I didn't get a chance to read that one yet.
Yeah.
But can you tell me what it was about?
I mean, just given the guidelines of vehicle maintenance, what happens if you get a ticket, you're responsible, and things of that nature. The rule, just basically no campaigning in the city vehicle. Can't
Correct.
Post any, campaign related items on the car, no stickers, nothing, signage or anything like that.
Just
Those kind of
protocol.
things, just basically stuff that we already know, but they're
Mhm.
codifying it into the actual rules.
I got time to read it.
All right. 24, So 23 is on the agenda. 24, an ordinance authorizing the adoption of a comprehensive finance policy and procedures document and related financial policies for the city of Mount Vernon. This is the Easy Pass one. 25, Office of the Controller and.
Are you saying agenda for that one?
Agenda, I'm sorry.
Thank
Yep.
you.
25 is an ordinance adopting a uniform workers' compensation reporting and claims process for the city of Mount Vernon. That's going to be on the agenda. 26, an ordinance authorizing the acceptance of the 2021 annual independent audit prepared by PKF O'Connor Davies and implementation of any necessary correction action measures. That's going to be on the agenda. And when everyone gets a chance, they should take a look at the findings. 27, Department of Planning and Community Development, an ordinance authorizing the mayor to execute a professional services agreement with ARUP for Phase 2 of a New York State Energy Research Development Authority project. That's going to be on the agenda.
Pardon me?
On the agenda.
Can I just ask a question?
Sure.
Go ahead.
Council President? Greg, did you have a chance to go through this? Can you speak in? I can't hear you.
Yes, I did review the ARUP agreement. There are no issues. It's a very straightforward contract.
Thank you so much.
Certainly.
Thank you, Greg.
Yep.
All right, number 28, that's going to be called for. Also going to give opportunity for the controller to chime in on this item. I'm going to read it anyway. Department of Planning and Community Development, an ordinance amending the city of Mount Vernon zoning code to temporarily reduce the in lieu parking fees associated with land use board approvals. So that's going to be a call for. 29 from the city clerk. A local law of 2026 authorizing the adoption of legislation to preserve a percentage of future market rate residential developments for fair and affordable housing and establish a Mount Vernon Affordable Housing Assistance Fund Board. That's going to be on the agenda. And that's all the items that I have.
I have a
Thank
question.
you. Go ahead.
Greg, I have a specific question regarding this. Did you review it also? And is there a model in another community that we're basing this on?
Local law for three cities, I have a couple meetings with Brad Shore, the land use council. I did have a couple meetings with Brad Schwartz, our land use council, as well as Commissioner Rouse and Pamela Tarlow at different points. We also, Brad's colleague at his law firm did review this and made suggestions, which I adopted because they were sound and they are more like the experts in zoning. I also based this on a law in Yonkers, to as like a skeleton for the legislation. And also I reviewed the comprehensive plan to ensure that this legislation is in compliance, aligned with that comprehensive plan from last year. So I if you have any questions, I'm happy to answer.
My question is on the establishment of a Mount Vernon Affordable Housing Assistance Fund Board. Do they have them in Yonkers?
They do.
Is
They
that
have
what-
that. They have it.
okay.
So that was actually in the referral letter from planning and community development. They recommended having a board where that could accept the fees. Like if we have a payment in lieu of if the developer doesn't meet the mark in terms of getting 10% of all units as affordable, then they would pay a fee, and then that fee would be kind of like administered and overseen by the board. They could direct it back into Mount Vernon, in ways to, support the building of affordable housing that developer did not complete.
That's all. Thank you.
I still had those other issues.
Sure.
The
What
other
is it?
issues that I spoke to you about after reading those particular thing, one issue was, I understand other communities may have that board, but that needed to be more or less like an independent board because of the simple fact that, putting council members and other people on those boards, we deal with a lot of those folks. And then another thing I was saying was the AMI on that particular thing, how you call it moderate or whatever, I forgot the term of it.
Moderate
Moderate.
or medium.
Yeah, moderate home thing and all of this stuff, but looking into HUD's guidelines, HUD calls that same thing, low income at the same number based on the AMI. So you guys are calling it one thing as like moderate workforce type housing, making it sound better, but HUD's particular classification for it is low income housing. So
Well, the comprehensive plan does make recommendations to build both low-income housing and workforce housing. So the idea is to not exclude any population completely. It starts at 80%, and it can go over 120. There's a range, and I think it's up to the council to decide,
But wasn't this supposed to be a 90-10 situation with market rate and 10% set aside for affordable housing?
10% set aside for affordable housing.
Right, so we already have that included in there, so why are we taking the other thing, changing the name on something that doesn't coincide with what HUD is putting out as a recommendation?
So
That
is your
that-
issue with
Yeah, but what I'm
the-
saying
the-
is
the-
that
the
is
labels?
misleading to the public that would see this.
So is your issue with the labeling moderate versus median?
Yeah, if that's the case, it needs to be, it needs to match what HUD's guidelines are. We cannot say HUD is saying this, like HUD says this is low income, and then we're just saying, oh, no, this is market rate, this is beautiful. That's misleading. Because basically, when it comes down to it, we have to follow HUD's guidelines. And that's what everybody else is following.
We use HUD to calculate or to have a reliable adjusted median income for Westchester County. And then within, Mount Vernon, we can create different type, like labels for certain income groups, but it doesn't mean that it's not in compliance or it's not aligned with what HUD says.
But those developers are using HUD because HUD is what's giving them the money when they go over there. They're not getting the money from Mount Vernon. They're getting it from HUD based on HUD guidelines. So should we not match it to what HUD's guidelines is, because that's where the developer's going? So this way, the developers could be getting money, talking about we're building HUD, we just got money from HUD to build low income housing. And then you over here, on the other hand, say, give them an opportunity to change the conversation to moderate homes or workforce housing or whatever they want to address it as, because that's the problem we have now today. What we need to do is stay focused on what is reality and what people are going to see, because people are going to read it over here and then see something different over here. And then we're going to look like we are hiding something. As the council.
I don't agree respectfully, Councilman. So as I said, this is, some of this language is pulled from the law in Yonkers, some of it from the law in New Rochelle.
But does HUD law supersede that? Because HUD law is where they going to get the money from if a developer's coming in. He's not getting the money from Mount Vernon on a moderate.
It simply allows you to have two different income groups.
So we're playing on words.
If you would like it to say low income versus median, or low income versus medium, low versus medium, I mean, I'm not sure how you would like to rephrase it.
I would just like to rephrase it to match the guidelines of what it truly is.
Okay.
Instead of us painting a picture of something else, which is going to fool the public and fool people into believing it, because the developers are going to go to HUD They're gonna get it and they're gonna be labeled as low-income housing and the money that they're getting, and they're gonna say, we could build low-income housing. And then you're gonna have people confused saying, no, it's gotta be moderate housing because XYZ. And now you're gonna have a big fight and debate over something that we shouldn't even be involved in.
All right.
We should have it correct from the get-go.
Corporation Council?
Preference of terminology here and not a legal issue is what I'm understanding. So if it's the council's pleasure, we'll be glad to change the language. We gotta get that it's the council's pleasure.
Yeah.
You know, it's kind of difficult to draft legislation and have one person object. We need to be clear about what aside from the legal issues, when there are preferences, then we need to know what the will is of the entire council.
But
Or if it's coming out of committee and we work through it through committee and then it's presented to the council, so.
Yeah, it's coming out of finance and planning.
All right, so
Okay,
you,
but my
What
point,
particular, which one is the issue again?
it's number 20.
No,
I mean, number,
no, what term?
the term is saying, I think it says moderate homes on the AMI and all of that stuff.
Okay.
However, it doesn't match the guidelines with what HUD is saying for the same exact thing. So HUD considers that as low-income housing. So what we're doing by changing the terminology of it is colorizing or faking the funk, in another word. You know what I'm saying? Because we either going to say what it is, and let people know
So
and
what?
line it up.
What Wallace is saying, he wants to make sure the verbiage is congruent with what's going on with HUD, so there's no confusion.
That's it.
That's it.
And I don't see a problem with that.
Okay. Anything else? That's fine. Anything else from the council? Before we end, I just want to notify the community, the mayor's mom passed away on Mother's Day, so we got to keep her family in prayer. Also, those funeral arrangements will be forthcoming as well. Also, my cousin Cena Epps passed away, and her funeral services will be this Thursday at 10 a.m. Is the viewing, and the funeral will proceed right after at Greater Centennial AME Zion Church, right on 8th Avenue and 4th Street. And, so we're gonna do a quick moment of silence for both my family, Cena Epps and the mayor's mom, and today's the mayor's birthday, right? Also, today is the mayor's birthday, so happy birthday, Mayor Sean Patterson Howard. And we're gonna keep her uplifted in prayer. It is her birthday, and it's the first birthday without mom as well, so let's keep her in prayer. But let's stand for a moment of silence. Thank you. The time is now 10:23 p.m. and this meeting is adjourned.